This is Tchipakkan, and welcome to the Otherworldly. I almost said new normal. I'm sorry. Flash from the past. And tonight tonight we're going to be having just a kind of a retrospective. It should be a lot of fun because we're talking about the history of changing times, changing worlds. And I see that we have a lot of people here who have been to a lot of changing times, changing worlds. It's been a wild ride. To begin, before the beginning, it started out with Jane and I, who have know each other from the Society for Creative Anachronism. And we tried to sucker anybody else into making a supernatural paranormal conference in New England after Craftwise stopped, which Kate and Frank Dalton used to put on, and it was incredible. That's where I discovered there were such things, and I was like, this is great. And then after Frank had a stroke, they couldn't do that anymore. So we tried to get somebody else to do it because we knew how much work it was. And finally in 2000, I'm going to say 2009, we decided that it might have been 2010. It was 2010. We went down to Ecumenicon. And while we were there, we traveled in the same car with Raven Caldera. And we said, let's just freaking do it. And so we kind of planned it on the way home. And that was really good. We thought we might do it as an adjunct of Ecumenicon, like an Ecumenicon North, see if we could get him to, help advertise it, help, organize. And and then we said, well, we better start advertising. If we decided we were going to do it in November, when the hotels would be cheaper in between the ski season and leaf peeping season. So,
yeah, and also Charlie Butler, who was running Ecumenicon, essentially wanted to hold the finances in his hands, and I didn't trust him. And yeah, and he wanted to have more of a say in the con than Tchipakkan and I were happy with. Over.
Yes, that I was trying to come up with a polite way of saying that. And so we wanted to, we knew we wanted one, and we kicked around a whole lot of names. But Ecumenicon was gone, Ethericon was taken, Caduceus was fun, but we weren't just doing healing. There were just a lot of cons that we thought would be good. And then we said, what's the point? Is that we want to change the world. We want to make it so that in a generation, people will just accept the fact that this stuff is real. I wanted to call it This Shit Is Real Con, but we didn't want to irritate people and get them to bad words. So that didn't fly very, and I wasn't really terribly serious. But
I came up with the name Changing Times, Changing Worlds.
Yeah, and that was okay. But since then, I have come to a different view of it, because I would like to, it's ponderous. As a matter of fact, we say CTCW more often than not, which is because it is too ponderous. So there you go. We are not doing that. And the reason that I say new normal was about that time, Catherine Kane called me and said, there's a radio radio station on the internet called Live Paranormal, and they're looking for people who want to do shows. And so I said, hey, what a great idea. We can interview the speakers, and that way we can not I'd like to have something to give back to them, because after all, they're donating all their knowledge and all their time and all their energy, and we have nothing that we can give them back. So I said, well, at least we can help promote them. And so I started interviewing our speakers, and mainly it was me and I would call up all of our speakers and say, would you like to come on? And then most of them said yes. Now, as the next several conferences went, it turned to be really convenient for me, because I would spend 6 months lining up all these great workshops and panels. And during the conference, I was running around putting out fires, and this person needs the whiteboard for their class, or this person needs that, or no, this person is up in an hour and they haven't shown up yet. And so I was missing everything. But with the talk show, I could actually get a chance to kind of get a one-on-one with them, and it was terribly self-indulgent of me. So I liked it, and that was the new normal. But they had technical difficulties, and I finally gave up on it about 3 years ago. And that was just about the time of when COVID forced us all to learn technology. And so somewhere out there are archives of a very great deal of new normal shows, which run together in my mind, because I just put them right back in on Wednesday nights where I'd been doing them. And so I've got a whole lot of shows with Star Wolf talking about crystals and other weird things. And what else? But that's why I was saying that. So the first year, the first thing we wanted to do was get a hotel. Well, first thing we said, we got to start advertising. And that's why we picked the name so fast that we came up with the cumbrous Changing Times, Changing Worlds. And then we started asking all our friends and a lot of strangers at places where Jane and I were speaking if they would join us. And many of them said yes. And that very first one we had in was the Clarion? It was in Amherst, New Hampshire.
No,
and
it was in West Springfield.
West Springfield? The other one was Amherst.
Yeah.
And we had it was a very strange, it was shaped like a cross. It had a swimming pool in the middle, and then it had 4 wings off of the sides. The cool thing about it was each of the wings was a square of rooms all facing onto an atrium. And that's where we could have our panels. And we thought about the panels as a great way to have a discussion. I just realized
that was the one in Northampton that's got torn down after we left.
Well, yeah, but it worked the first couple of years, and it also, they had little tables and chairs so you could go. And it was like a little piazza where everybody could gather. Mm-hmm. And we had, and that first year we had 6 different tracks, because my awareness of conferences was based on things like the SCA, Penzic, and Aresia, and places where you had many tracks. And I figured you start as you want to go on. It was too much. We ended up with a whole lot of people who didn't get very big people, and not to mention we had put classes. Hospitality was one. It was in a wedding suite. It was just, that was the biggest room they had, and they just put the things on the little tables, and wouldn't you think hospitality would be in the atrium? But it was when we went back there later. After that, we went to, there were these 2 brick towers at the Amherst, Mass Amherst campus. And we were at that one, and we had to get a big room so we could have, there were several movement classes. They had Juniper Talbot did dance, and Dennis Winsinger had a kind of a martial arts form he was teaching. And boy, we were the first year we had, who were those, the knights doing fighting demonstrations, and we had the Laura Hanlon brought in her dance. It's like a female form of dancing. What do they call them? Garland dancers. And the Garland dancers danced. Oh my goodness. But so we needed a big one. So we took over the top floor of the towers, but we had we got a big gym size room down in the basement. Unfortunately, some of the people that we anticipated being very, very popular were in the basement, and they said, "Hey, why are we being segregated?" It's like, no, we got you big rooms because we knew how popular you were. And it was. Can somebody else talk about something for a minute, because I don't mean to monopolize. Jane, what do you remember from the early years?
Well, the first one, I managed to convince Father Shoemaker, who is Episcopalian, to come, and he flew out his own dime and brought a priest friend of his who was from Chicago. Turned out the priest friend had a certain liking for ethanol, and so poor Father Shoemaker had to try to keep him sober. But he was teaching classes at comparative religion university levels. And so he had a number of very good presentations. We wanted to have as much as possible, not just pagan, but all over the whole whatever. If we could get a Muslim, that would be fine. I think we had some Jewish programming too. I'm not sure. Father Shoemaker came the second year and did an Elizabethan mass, and which was very well received. But he's pretty much out in California. He came all the way from California. It was we had more variety back then. It's turning into more of that the people that are coming are pagan or non-Judeo-Christian. I'd like to see more variety come again. Over.
Yeah, we were hoping to get Shinto, and we tried for some spiritualists. Basically, what we were looking for is anything that is spooky foo, that acknowledges the reality of the many layers of the world. In the first 2 or 3, what's the little booklet that you have is that the program booklet. I had at the back a little list of vocabulary words, because I have found that there are very few ways of creating tension between different groups than to be using vocabulary that you use one way and they use another way. And I thought that maybe we could get people to put in this is what I mean when I use this word. And that didn't last because nobody was really using it. Another one of my terribly, terribly clever ideas that actually didn't pan out.
Well, every conference you learn something new. Like we learned to try to get a less expensive hotel. I remember I had to essentially foot the first one, and that was very expensive. And so we managed to get them down the next year, but even so, we had to go as cheaply as possible. And slowly but surely, we're coming along. I'm glad that we're going to be having it on Zoom because what with the virus around and people are still getting it. Well, Willow, I feel sorry for her. She's upstairs suffering. But the virus, etc. And so here we are. We did that good choice, and people can come from all over. We've got some excellent speakers, and they can just Zoom in. And but I am looking forward to maybe next year being again.
We're hoping. Yeah, and and that just kind of reminded me another thing, that we've had fun with the themes. The first year we figured, okay, what does everybody want? Prosperity and abundance. That's where we started out. And then the next year we went for healing, holy, whole. And then we had, the next year was Hurricane Sandy was the year we chose forces of nature as our theme. So that might not have been the best the best thing that we needed to do that, but that was the Hurricane Sandy year. See, in 2013 we were doing communication, so we added an art show, which was really cool and it was communication between us and other worlds, and between the gods and us, and between different groups. Then we had cycles and movement. We had the fire within. We had balance and exchange. Let's see, 2017 was an easy one. It was joy. And then we went over to, what was that? Jane and I had entered this from the very beginning, saying we're not going to hold on to this forever. We had seen the Sheelys do that with Ethericon. We'd seen Charles Butler do that with Ecumenicon. We're going to pass this on to somebody else. And so we said in 5 years, we're going to find another chair, and they can pass it on another 5 years or whatever. And I think that the COVID got in the way with that, but we had but the year we were in a hotel that we called it the Haunted Hotel. There was actually we had some ghost hunters coming in. They were doing a ghost hunting. That was very cool. But the year our theme was changed, they gave us a call on October 1st and said, the hotel is shutting down. You have to find someplace else. And they were very nice and helped us find another one, which was even further west in New York. And unfortunately, their main conference that was happening that weekend was a conference with the Irish dancing that was very, very loud.
We managed to get them to move us to some other rooms that were farther away, but yeah. And we had to be so where we lived, our sort of hotel rooms, etc., was a sort of a shuttle away from the main building, which was very interesting. I'm trying to get to places. So, but then that was, I think we were there for what, 2 years?
1
We
year.
only were there, we were only there once.
Only 1 year.
Yeah, but I really like the haunted hotel. We're thinking about going back there. Because
Yeah,
they basically
I
doing a huge renovation.
The one I describe as Dirty Dancing meets The Shining.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Yeah. Well, do you know the reason it closed? Apparently, the millionaire who had bought it, he went up Mount Everest and he came down in a body bag. So they had to close while everything was decided.
Yeah.
He actually came down?
Oh,
Yeah.
This is a great point to enter in on.
Yeah.
But it did kind of make us a little bit cautious about our themes. It was like, we better not have anything that can be seen as that can be misinterpreted by the powers that be. Because like if things like this keep happening, if we have to change hotels 1 month before the conference, or if Hurricane Sandy came back, came when we had the forces of nature, it was like, okay, we got to be really careful here. So let's see, I think next year this year we're doing, last year was Harvest, and this year is, geez, I know what it is. It's life, the universe, and everything.
The theme this year is connecting the worlds, the magic of you.
Connecting the worlds. Thank you very much. And next year it's going to be something having to do with luck. We're going to go for luck. We're going to try and push it in the good luck direction as opposed to the bad luck direction. Trust in your luck. And when I came home yesterday night and found out that there was COVID in the house, I did a quick rune reading, just the 3 runes, and I got Fja and Lagu and Pjorth. Now Pjorth is a weird rune because it's hard to say what it is, but it is often used for finding lost objects and just accepting, going with the flow of luck. And so we're gonna, so let's go with luck next year. But when I got those 3 runes, I said, okay, Fja, which is for herds and wealth, let's call that. Keep moving, and Lagu, I said, okay, wash your hands. So trust in your luck, but keep moving and wash your hands. So I do very down and dirty rune readings. And then
the fail.
And then Jane corrects me.
Yeah, fail. That's the Anglo-Saxon, was cattle, but also wealth. The other one was lugur or lagus, you called it. Essentially water for changing things that can be shaped. Peorth, the only meaning that we've gotten in history was from the Anglo-Saxon rune poem. Essentially, Peorth makes a man's heart glad when he essentially, maybe when they interpret it as a game token, or a willing boy or a willing girl, or somebody else paying for the beer or whatever. So there are many interpretations, but again, the rune tradition moves on. This is something that's always changing. So people are using the Elder Futhark a lot now, and a lot of the themes have a rune sort of base. Over.
Yeah, and as I said, Jane will always correct me because I really consider Jane to be one of the foremost scholars when it comes to runes. So, but when something has been created, then there it goes. Anyway, so what other things have happened? So we had the art show, and I'd love to have another art show once we're physical. I liked having the ghost hunt. That was very cool. At some point we started doing the silent auction for fundraising because we never seem to have enough money. But that allows people to do things. Sometimes we have a lot of depends on the hotel whether we can have when their hospitality is is more food or less, whether it's just snacks or again keeping people hydrated, which is very important, or just a place to sit and chat with friends. I know Ray did it once. Mary's done it. Honor did it once. Doug, who's here, has provided our security, which is almost unnecessary, but he's really, really nice to have as a he's always there to run errands and see what is
he is a visible presence that provides a level of comfort, knowing that there is somebody there that we can approach if we need assistance with something, whether it's just walking from one point in the hotel to another, to actually going to train stations to pick up arriving members. Hi, Doug. He's a very quiet, stable presence.
He's wonderful to have around, not to mention decorative. I don't one of the things that he does is
the hospitality. I provided coffee for it, and I had a microwave, and Tchipakkan brought a microwave, so people could microwave things, and so that would be a little. At one point, people started bringing. So we were essentially eating out of the con suite, and it was just too expensive, and it was just, like turkey, and there's just all sorts of stuff. Whereas hospitality should just essentially be, popcorn or snacks or something. And so, because, people could eat at the hotel, or if they brought their own food, could nuke it. But yeah, and we'll have to also consider the dealer room because that was good. And over.
Yeah, it kind of started out. We when we were doing our initial invitations, we were talking to Susan Weed, and she wanted to be fed, and we were like, okay, we can probably make sure that you will not. She said, I can't afford to eat at hotels, and it must be something that's good. So we said we can make sure that you will not starve. We will make sure that there is good food for you. That wasn't, but when people saw that there was a great deal of food, there was they started taking gleeful advantage. So I think at least one year we did a kind of a potluck meal between everybody, and that was lovely. I still have very fond memories. Starwolf brought a cornbread that had, I think, bacon and peppers and cheese in it.
Bacon, green chilies, and cheese. Yes.
Oh,
Yum.
That was. I still remember that years later. But it's a lot easier.
If we ever get together again physically, I'm sure I might actually be making some.
Ooh.
Yay. We had, what was it? We had, the last year we were live, we had I think a costume ball. It had a theme. What, anybody remember the theme? Was it Gods and Goddesses or something like that?
Something like that, I think.
And people brought a lot of desserts to that because it's
Yes, I
always
remember that.
easier to feed ourselves than to pay. Okay, one of the hotels required that we eat with them, and that certainly reduced.
That
the amount
was
of-
Honors That was the
Honors
last one we
Haven,
were at,
yeah.
where we had to be on the meal plan. I mean, it was a good meal plan, but
Yeah,
it was
it was.
expensive.
Yeah.
yeah, but it was good food. I remember the salmon that they served.
I would like, if we can, to talk about some of the things. Oh, let me start out with, we got to mention the concerts, but I want to mention Mary Alice, who stepped up to be the next round of chair, and just let's say that we got to find another one soon because we don't want any of our chairs to burn out. And I think that would be a thing. But that first year, we had somebody who flew in from Michigan because Mary Alice was teaching Reiki, and she did first, second, and third Reiki, which had to be really, really intense on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But it was included in the price of the conference, and that made it cheaper than you could get it anywhere else. So somebody actually flew in from Michigan, and it was cheaper to come to the conference than it was to get Reiki in Michigan, which is cool. But we've had, healing rooms. We've had the labyrinth, where was it Tamara Lindsay? And then there was another one that had a painted labyrinth. We rolled out on the floor and people could walk the labyrinth. But what was it? Was it Honors Haven? Or was it a different one, had a grown labyrinth? Somebody was going to do a labyrinth workshop in it, but it got too cold. So that
would be Honors Haven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was below freezing from the time we arrived to the time we left.
And so we are, we've done so many different things. But yeah, yes, we've had Jenna Green and Kellyanna. We've had Chris LaFond and Katie do their harp and flute. We've had Mike Dolan came once. Who else? But I know we've had several
Alyssa
concerts.
Yeager.
Yeah.
Rhiannon Thorpe.
Ellen Everett Hopman also, she had wanted to be totally comped.
Yeah, well, that's not.
But she did some good classes on herbalism and stuff.
Oh yeah, Ellen Everett Hopman was wonderful. She's got a very strict. We've had very, very, very crammed rooms. We had with her stuff, but she takes a very strict. No, I'm not going to accept any morality policing, which we've decided we are going to do, because we want to be inclusive of everybody. We have Christian mystics as well as pagans.
I'm not sure if it's morality policing to say you shouldn't be treating people nastily.
That's perfectly reasonable. But we tried to get it phrased so that it would be acceptable, but she's been attacked and is sensitized. So, but she was wonderful while she was coming. We had Kirk White, who's always very, very popular. We had him once, and we had a ghost hunter who was used to filling 200 room things, but Kirk was so popular, he only had 3 people who showed up for his ghost hunting workshop, which was really bothered him.
I think Kirk was talking on masonry, which was really interesting.
And we're not talking stonework, really. I get that.
No, one of the things that Kirk is doing is he's getting these more esoteric aspects of masonry into the meetings. So the young people, masonry was getting all old people. And when Kirk started getting into the more traditional parts of masonry, he has now reinvigorated New England masonry. It's very cool.
That's quite cool. But in addition to that, I think one of the focuses that we might, or one of the areas of focus we might want to do, is to really, really open ourselves to all kinds of pantheons and belief systems. Yes, not just, quote, what we think of as pagan, which tends to be the Wiccan, Celtic, whatever, heathenry, whatever, but the Hinduism, and also Islam, Shinto, everything. We need to be very open to everything.
Yeah, one of the people that came, as I recall, is Dutch, Pennsylvania Dutch. And so he was talking about the Dutch tradition, which was fascinating. So again, trying to get from as many different traditions as possible. Over.
I have a question. What are some of your favorite classes or experiences at past conferences? I haven't attended any but Zoom, and I'm curious what happens. What have you enjoyed?
Oh, see, being a whiner, I mostly think about the ones I missed.
Oh.
But, I am a big fan of Raven Caldera's stuff.
Yeah.
From the Northern tradition. And let's see, I had gone to a dowsing conference, the American Society of Dowsers, have theirs recorded. And so we actually, one year we had them record our classes, but they have little deeper pockets than we do. And we had to promise the people who recorded for us that we would sell that much. So I've still got a whole bunch of discs, which was a little bit earlier in the technology path, with classes on them. And now it's all, it's at MP3s, what they call it, on our works. But I like Raven's, the sister gods and goddesses of the world. Let's see, what else did
It don't might sound egotistical. But one of the things I like most is the 2 years that Starwolf and I did the tea party.
Oh, the tea party, yes, that was fun.
Yeah, that was part of what I loved about it. Basically, we were looking at the con and we thought all these great serious classes, but it's really, really serious, and it needs something light and social. So we offered what we called Starwolf and Kathy's totally amateur tea leaf reading class, possibly with cookies. Just to give you the kind of thing. And how this started was Starwolf, my brother and Ben's sister-in-law, gave him a gift. They didn't know what the heck to do about him, so they gave him a holiday gift of a tea club. So every 3 months he would get 3 freeze-dried packets of really excellent tea, a black tea, a green tea, and an herbal or fruit tea. And
actually, that was every month.
Yes, every month.
For a while.
And basically, he doesn't drink most of those, and they were too good to throw away, but piling up. And Starwolf also had developed a collection of the Japanese iron teapots.
Oh.
So what we did is, I do not technically read tea leaves, but I know just enough about it to be dangerous. And a lot of the skills used for doing other reading. This is me talking from the upper right-hand corner with no picture. But what I did is I did some research, did a quick little handout of really basic beginning tea leaf reading.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was, y'all come in. When you read tea leaves, you need a cup with a handle.
Mm-hmm.
So to set the tone for it, we had styrofoam cups with no handles and purple duct tape if you had to make your own handle. So that kind of got it started about how serious this is, but it was legitimate information. I talked a little bit about, gave a brief discussion on the handout on what tea leaf reading was and how you do it, and passed out the handouts, and then you got to make your handle and go up to Starwolf, who was the barista. He had a big pot of hot water and all these teas. You got to pick a tea, and he would prepare it for you, and then you go back to your seat and sit down, read your own tea leaves, read your neighbor's tea leaves, trade things. And it was great because it was low impact, not too serious. Everybody can do this. And people got all excited. They were jumping up and down, looking at each other's cups, looking in the cups behind them and all that kind of stuff. And what I wasn't expecting is people started lining up in front of me saying, read my tea leaves. And I'm like, I'm not that good.
You really should have gotten that one.
I
expected that.
I didn't expect that because that's not how I set it up. But I winged it, and we had some good reading type of thing. Because, like I said, a lot of skills for readers translate from modality to modality. And like I said, don't want to be egotistical, but I really enjoyed that because
it sounds like a great deal of fun.
People had fun. People learned a little bit about tea leaf reading in specific, and just doing readings in general. People got to meet people they haven't met before. So we ran it for 2 years in a row, and the second year it wasn't as crowded as the first year was, and so we decided, okay, this is an idea that was cool, but its time is coming on. But I really liked it for those reasons, that it was not so serious, that it was not a heavy duty class, that it was a useful class, but a social class, and it was fun. And I think something like that would be a beautiful thing if we could figure out.
Well, if we go back to live, or even better with hybrid, so that we continue to have people coming in from long distances that can't afford to fly out, which will also reduce our carbon footprint and make me feel better about that. We could.
It's also worth noting that if you're hybrid, people who can't afford to book a hotel room and travel can still
absolutely,
and that gets us increased traffic, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, money is a real thing, and I don't want to exclude anybody because they can't afford it. But that is something that we've always felt was very important.
This was one of the reasons for having the auction.
Yeah, but anyway, I really like the concerts. I like the get-togethers. I like
the bardic
talking in the hallways, the little conversations that you explore. We cover things like at the beginning, Okumba Sauti was there doing indigeneity and social change and talking about that, and Raven and Galena had talked about how to make offerings. There were several. We've done embracing the dark and looking at the dark side several times. We've had rituals like Norseworking. Oh my God, talk about a powerful ritual, which we can't do
Definitely.
online. Although this year, Diana Paxson and Laurel Mendez are going to be doing a spay ritual online because they've done it before and they say that they can.
Okay.
So cool.
I'm looking forward to that.
I am particularly fond of panels. I like the discussions. I like to have a healing panel every year and a divination panel every year and a shaman panel every year, because there's so many different kinds of shamanism. And what other things? Oh gosh.
The Otherkin panel was interesting that time.
Which one?
Otherkin?
The Otherkin.
The Otherkin. Oh yeah, that was
about that.
That was weird.
Yeah.
It's a thing I hadn't heard about until I started going to conferences, but it's like a trans person feels they're in the wrong gender body. A Otherkin is in the wrong species of body. You can have somebody who understands that within they really are an elf, or they are a werewolf, or they are a dragon. And who are we to tell anybody what their inner person is, their inner species is? You know, it's I like there. We've had several variations on crafting panels. Not something we can do as well virtually, or maybe we could do it easily virtually. But people would bring things and talk about how you put magic into the knitting or the creating that they did. That was, there's something about one of the things that Jane always, Jane and I described this conference as hands-on and how to. Less intellectual and more show me how to freaking do it. You know, it's very nice to know that this thing exists, but show me how. I want to learn the technique. Show me how you do it. Now, not everybody does things the same way. The more different speakers we have, the more different ways we can show people, because the way I do it may not be the way that works best for you.
That's right. I have done the classes on hand embroidery one year that can be used to decorate ritual items, and class on intro crocheting, which again you can use to make all kinds of things. And people left with either samples or instructions for making something, and I enjoyed teaching those. For what it's worth.
And I think they're useful. The more we can bring the other world into our daily lives, the more successful I feel the conference is. But other people may have different things they want out of the conference. Anybody else? What would you like to see? Because as we move forward.
Well, I think that having more practical hands-on classes is an awesome idea. That's one of the reasons I'm doing the string figure magic work that I'm doing right now, is to be able to have a group of people doing string figures together and possibly even multiplying the power of that as we go. The crafting classes, great idea. Anything hands-on or in-person together that's a little more active than sitting in a class. And the classes are great, but they're a different collection of subjects.
Yeah. See, another thing that we've had a lot of, which is, I know it bothers Mary Alice, who wants to keep everything positive, but I see it as positive. We've had a lot of classes and discussions on death. Not only the lead up to it, which I got a lot more interested in when I became a executor for Friends Estate. Get your stuff, get your papers done, know where they are, tell your whoever's running it where they are, but also what happens after you die, which
Right.
of course we can argue about forever, and it's fun, but it's still, I think it's useful to examine what happens after we die. So see, for me, I remember previous lifetimes. I remember being in other places. So I have no fear of death, which makes me kind of hard to talk to for somebody who is afraid of dying, who hasn't got that certainty that I have. And I have to keep reminding myself, I could be full of it. I always want to remind myself that I could just be totally nuts. But I'm confident that the things that I am learning, that have learned, are, and dealing with aging, frankly, I find discussions about dealing with aging as difficult as the discussions about dying. Like, I turn around and I look in the mirror, you lean over to pick something up and it goes twinge, and you say, what happened there?
And they're both. I mean, there's the aging thing. And yeah, oh man, a year ago, this never happened to me. I didn't feel like this. This is the point where you come to a point you go, yeah, I'm looking at the end. I'm looking at where am I going? And yeah, is there some way to work around and look at, yep. Is it normal after a certain age to go get up every morning and go, I'm still here. Life is good.
Yeah.
Or, wow, how long do I have left? I mean, that's stuff. And what do I want to accomplish?
I've been thinking about these things myself, as my husband is 10 years older than me and clearly doing much differently than I am at my age. And I have to start thinking about what happens to me at some point. We don't have children. So that's a serious subject for me, is how do I deal with...
Same here, no kids.
Yeah, and that's a subject for the older members of this, or the disabled. We have to remember to make sure that the younger have topics too. I mean, death is something for everybody, right?
But also passing down traditions, like I was taught by my father's mother, from her mother, etc. Nobody in my family is remotely interested. So with me, it's trying to pass on as much as I possibly can so that at least some of the traditions may survive. You know,
and you've done a wonderful job of that, Jane.
Well, there's no trying more to do, quote Yoda.
And I've been getting nigged by lots of people that I need to write up all of my stuff, and I need to get out there. So yes, I have a to-do.
Yeah. And well, and one of the things we have to do is, and what happens to your magical stuff? Can you imagine, okay, somebody comes in and it gets taken away by a cleaning company and it all goes into onto eBay?
Or it goes into a secondhand shop.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't know what it is.
You're rich if you're pagan.
You have to put in a will who's gonna take certain stuff, or you have to tag things. And it's huge. And I'm getting over the age where, I got to do that.
Yeah, and trying to figure out who would A, be able to take, and B, respect, and C, maybe even be able to use the stuff that I have.
Or can I appoint someone that I really trust to basically wipe everything clean and then put it out for very approved groups? Because do I really want stuff that has been building power for many years to go into miscellaneous hands? No.
I realize the logistics of this might be difficult, but having an annual bonfire where people can burn items that they feel should be let go of might be an interesting idea. I know
Or,
legally there's issues, but
or to lay things out on a
thinking more
table.
like
and those
something
who-
like a wand or something that I have used for decades that has built up power. Well, no, that needs to be wiped clean. And
Yeah.
I don't need to dispose of that annually.
okay. Yeah.
If I could say something, this is
Oh.
very much.
Hey, look, it's Faye.
It
She
is.
she was at our very first.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. That this is very parallel with the many discussions that have been happening at science fiction fantasy gatherings for people in fandom who also have no heirs and huge libraries and archives, things that are very precious to them and don't know what to do. But what you're talking about adds an extra level of complexity. But one thing that they would have in common is that if you do have a will, you probably want to have two executors. You want to have a sort of financial executor and you want to have a magical executor.
Yes.
Good
You want,
idea.
you want to have a personal executor to go, there are certain things that go here. The financial executor is one thing, but there's a subset that is taken out. It's not like, oh, it's not like my $500,000 piece of property. No, it's a it's a $50 wand. Get over it.
Yeah, but it's the equivalent in the science fiction convention world of a literary executor.
Oh,
I would need a craft executor to take care of all the craft supplies in my house.
Because the person who is good with finances and can do that is not necessarily the one you want to do all these things that you're naming.
Bingo.
I've got so many needle
The
point
person
and
who
embroidery and
whoever's the executor who does the overall thing in your estate, you have to carve out a piece of your estate. Say, no, this is not for, give me the biggest bucks for my heirs. This is called put it to where it goes.
okay, we
Put it
have a
to where
minute and a
it
half,
needs to
if
go.
that, left.
Right.
I was
Well,
going to suggest that as we come to the end here, we talk about what everybody can look forward to this year and in the future a little bit, and why they should join the history.
yeah. This was just kind of self-indulgent as I was
I get that. Yeah.
taking a walk down memory lane, but we have had an incredible variety of things that have happened over these years. But we have to decide, going back to where Jane and I started, you must
Oh, have we lost her?
she just
So,
froze.
we must move forward because, you know, things change, people join, and I think that our meeting is just about over. It's 8:59 on my little clock.
Yes.
It's so good to see you all. Faye, it's awesome seeing you. Hi.
Hi,
if
I'm
anyone-
so
Hey.
sorry to be late.
Yeah.
I won't take up everybody's time with the emergency things that happened, but I'm here now.
And anyone who wants to look us up on Facebook, the group is Changing Times, Changing Worlds, and you
But
can
this
join
has
us.
been a fabulous discussion.
Yes, it has. I have found it interesting to find out where this all began.
Because I'm
I
a
just got plugged into
newcomer.
it this year.
Oh,
I'm a newcomer to Changing Times,
Yeah.
Changing Worlds.
well, Jane and Aristorm really created something new. My input into it was a casual remark of saying that, wow, wouldn't it be great if you could have a meeting that was not just for the in crowd, but that would be for all the people who think that New Age is actually new.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we really wanted to do was allow it to change. Jane and I have been in the SCA for 40 years and have seen how it changed, and we're not happy with all the changes. But we know that it has to change, it has to grow, it has to become what the other people in it need it to be. And that was why we tried to set it up, so that it would do that.
Mhm.
So that was, I guess that's my final pronouncement, as it were.
And so
From
that it
the-
moves on.
And
with,
me having grown up in an era where, FCA was not something I could access. This has become kind of a back door into stuff.
Mhm.
And I would just like to say before we close that the recording of this session will be going up on YouTube either Thursday or Friday, whenever I can get to the editing.
Okay.
And I'm going to remind people that at the very bottom of the chat, there are 3 dots that let you save the chat so you can look at it later, because there's been some really cool stuff going by that I haven't had a chance to read, which I'll read later, but you can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if you think of things later, come to the Facebook group and tell us about it if you have other ideas about the topic.
Yeah, and we were all on Messenger
Mm-hmm.
and Facebook.
I'm not sure how that works, actually.
Yeah,
So,
put it on Facebook where everybody can see it, not Messenger.
yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to stop the recording now. And before I do that,
Good night, Aldo. Thank
remind
you.
people to register for the conference in November. Okay.
And what's next week?
November 7th through the 13th. Okay.